Let's see your babies.
Where are my babies?
They're over here. Go see them.
Where? Oh, we have to go
Right
there.
there.
Okay.
Katie!
Woo! Got it?
1, 2, 3. Take up space! That's our pink moon.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
It's a very soft landing despite the sporty perception. There it is.
Touchdown. Congratulations and welcome back.
And real astronauts are extremely intelligent scientists who've been tested to the limits of their physical and mental fitness. But this was really not women in space. It was stupid people in space. This was the lowest IQ space crew that has ever been launched from Earth.
They're treating her like she was in Nam. Where are my babies? My babies. Like she was almost dead. Here's Katy Perry. Kisses the ground. Right. You were in such danger.
The celebrities like Katy Perry, who were sent on the stunning and brave girl boss mission into outer space for Blue Origin, are now having complete and total meltdowns over the backlash that they've been receiving for the past 48 hours in response.
She too. Okay, kisses the ground. Somebody already. You should be kissing Oprah. Oprah's there. Kiss Oprah. She's worth far more to you than the ground. Thank you, Jesus. I mean, truly, it's like they're right back from Nam.
Wendy posted, Wendy's, the fast food chain. Yeah. Can we send her back?
Oh!
Now Wendy's is refusing to apologize to the post, despite the backlash.
What did they do?
That was one small step for womankind, one giant leap backwards for mankind, as far as I can see.
An all-female Blue Origin space crew with celebrities including Katy Perry, Sánchez, and Gayle King has been hilariously mocked after it returned to Earth following an 11-minute trip into the Earth's atmosphere. Katy Perry jumped out of the aircraft and kissed the ground in a painfully cringe moment that has been roasted online.
Okay, you even see people like Wendy's the restaurant, completely roasting the heck out of Katy Perry for what she did. The backlash to this entire thing has been hilarious, but the people that aren't finding it very funny are people like Katy Perry and some of the other celebrities.
Rows and rows of empty seats, ticket prices slashed, shows canceled. What was supposed to be Katy Perry's triumphant return is now looking like a $50 million nightmare unraveling in real time. It all started with a rocket ride, a glamorous, headline-grabbing moment where Katy Perry wasn't just a pop star, she became a so-called astronaut. Or at least, that's what the PR team wanted the world to believe, with cameras flashing, social media buzzing, and celebrities lining up to praise the moment. It seemed like Katy had pulled off one of the biggest image reinventions of her career.
Katie!
Woo! This commentator said, "Cool story. She got to ride in a rocket with other women."
But behind the blue jumpsuit and the selfies floating in zero gravity, a ticking time bomb. The Blue Origin flight was meant to position Katy as a pioneer, a symbol of empowerment. Instead, the public saw right through it. Critics slammed the stunt as tone-deaf, fans accused her of faking heroism for album sales, and within weeks, the backlash became impossible to ignore. Now, with her Lifetime's tour struggling to fill arenas and entire sections left unsold, Katy Perry's cosmic gamble is spiraling into a brutal crash landing. What should have been a historic, empowering chapter for her legacy has instead exposed a harsh reality. Even the biggest stars can fall, and sometimes they crash harder than anyone ever expected. And as the tour disaster unfolds, the question hanging over everything is simple. Was it all worth it? When Katy Perry suited up for Blue Origin's highly publicized all-female spaceflight, it looked, at first, like a pop culture masterstroke. A bold move. A historic moment. Katy, Gayle King, Sánchez. Powerful women breaking barriers, floating into the future. Or at least, That's how it was supposed to be. Within hours of liftoff, though, the internet wasn't celebrating.
To this insane cringe that unfortunately we all had to suffer through. I mean, the cringe has been off the charts with this entire thing, and pretty much the entire internet hates what they did here.
It was laughing, mocking, picking apart every glossy frame and over-rehearsed soundbite. The footage showed Katy barely looking out the window. Instead, she was glued to her phone, capturing endless selfies, flashing her tour schedule, posing like it was a music video shoot at 50 miles above Earth. Critics didn't hold back. Memes exploded across TikTok and X, calling the mission an influencer getaway and a $28 million elevator ride. The final blow came from someone with real authority. U.S. Secretary of Transportation, Sean Duffy, stepped in and officially ruled that none of the participants, including Katy, would be classified as astronauts. Why? Because they didn't actually do anything. In Duffy's words, they were luggage on a ride, not contributing to the mission, not operating any equipment, not conducting any research. They were simply passengers, spectators. Worse, sharp-eyed viewers noticed the rocket capsule showed no burn marks or atmospheric re-entry damage.
It is the highest high, and it is surrender to the unknown, trust, and this whole journey is not just about going to space.
Signs of a real journey into space. It didn't help that Bezos' Blue Origin has long been criticized as offering suborbital joyrides rather than true space missions. Suddenly, Katy's historic achievement didn't feel groundbreaking anymore. It felt staged, hollow, a slick PR stunt designed to sell records and concert tickets. And that realization would haunt her, because the fans she thought she could impress were about to turn into her toughest critics. It didn't take long for the backlash to catch fire. At first, it was a few sarcastic tweets, a TikTok here and there, joking about Katy's space selfies and tour promo at 50 miles high. But then it snowballed. Fast. Fans who once cheered Katy's boldness started asking uncomfortable questions. Why did it feel like she was more focused on getting good Instagram shots than appreciating the supposed gravity of the moment? Why was her tour schedule flashed mid-flight like a pop-up ad in the middle of what should have been history? The vibe shifted almost overnight. Comment sections flooded with brutal takes, mocking her so-called space goddess branding.
Katy Perry was quoted as saying, "We're putting the ass in astronauts." Okay, all right. You go, girl. This is so...
This is why she needs empowering, because she keeps revealing her stupidity like that, and we have to boost her back up.
Viral memes showed Katy floating in zero gravity holding concert merch instead of scientific tools. TikTok stitched her space clips with soundtracks like "Money, Money, Money" and captions like, "This isn't feminism, it's capitalism at 3,800 miles per hour." Worse, even casual fans, not just the hardcore internet crowd, started checking out. They weren't buying the story anymore. What was once framed as empowerment now reeked of privilege and marketing desperation. And the internet never forgets. Commenters resurfaced old clips of Katy from earlier in her career, showcasing her authenticity, her rawness, contrasting sharply with what they now saw as a corporate product desperately trying to rebrand. The fans felt betrayed, not just by the space stunt, but by the realization that maybe, just maybe...
Sorry, but I'm like, why are you... Don't show your boobs. Don't talk about your ass. Don't get your specially made spacesuit so that we can make sure to see all your curves.
Katy wasn't the same artist they grew up loving. This wasn't just about one bad PR move. It was the beginning of a larger unraveling, a trust collapse between an artist and her audience. And just as the criticism reached a boiling point, Katy launched the very project that would push things over the edge, her Lifetimes tour. When Katy Perry announced her Lifetimes tour just weeks after the Blue Origin flight, it should have been a victory lap. Instead, it felt desperate. The entire rollout leaned into the space theme. Metallic outfits, zero-gravity visuals, galactic empowerment messaging. Promos showed Katy in futuristic suits, floating through animated starfields, talking about dreams without limits. The problem? The audience wasn't inspired anymore. They were exhausted. From the very start, ticket sales sputtered. Stadiums in Houston, Minneapolis, and Denver, cities where Katy used to sell out in minutes, showed massive swaths of unsold seats. Early buyers reported slashed prices within days of purchasing. VIP packages that once would have been snapped up at thousands of dollars were now gathering dust. Some listed for under $100. It wasn't just bad.
What did these women do? Like, honestly, one is sleeping with a billionaire who created this program and is jetting people, to outer space for like 10 minutes, for as long as like your average YouTube video takes.
It was embarrassing. Images started circulating online showing entire sections of venues wide open. Fans joked that they could host family reunions across empty rows without bumping into anyone. And even with the heavy Blue Origin branding, something felt off. Instead of feeling empowering, the space theme came across as forced, a desperate attempt to turn a PR nightmare into a concert narrative. Every spaceship prop, every space goddess costume only reminded people of the stunt that started it all. Katy, once known for her ability to tap into the zeitgeist, suddenly felt miles away from reality. Not a trailblazer floating through the cosmos, but a pop star stuck inside her own PR bubble, drifting further from the fans who once made her a phenomenon. And the worst part? This was just the beginning, because when the cancellations started rolling in, the narrative went from Katy's in trouble to something much more brutal. Katy's empire is collapsing. As the Lifetime's tour limped forward, the cracks split wide open. Official statements blamed technical issues and venue construction delays for the sudden cancellations. But fans weren't buying it. 2 major shows in Guadalajara were scrapped first. Then rumors swirled that poor ticket sales, not construction, were the real reason.
Okay. They had nothing to do with any of the engineering. They're just looking for famous faces who could draw attention to Jeff Bezos' weird little rocket. His first little rocket looks exactly like a penis.
Insiders whispered that even with heavy discounts, Katy's team couldn't fill half the arena. And when US stops started flashing entire sections of available seats, just days before showtime, it became undeniable. The tour was in serious trouble. In Houston, a city where Katy once held sold-out arena concerts, thousands of seats remained stubbornly unsold. In Denver, aerial photos of the venue revealed wide oceans of blue, the haunting color of unclaimed chairs. Minneapolis, same story. Slashed prices, empty rows. Some reports even claimed certain venues considered curtaining off upper sections just to make the audience look bigger. The humiliation didn't stop there. Social media pounced, with clips of her underwhelming crowds going viral. Commenters joked that Katy's next tour would be a meet and greet with every single fan because they could all fit backstage. Behind the scenes, the panic was real. Management scrambled to spin the narrative, highlighting intimate performances and exclusive experiences, but it couldn't hide the obvious. The momentum was dead, and no rebranding, no flashy outfits, no faux inspirational space speeches could breathe life back into it. What started as a minor PR hiccup after the Blue Origin trip had snowballed into a full-blown disaster.
This is what bothers me, because I've certainly read some of the things online, coming from people that I know, that I like, that I consider friends. Space is not an easy.
And it's really bad. You know that the cringe is completely off the charts when you have other celebrities.
And as word spread about the financial bleeding behind the scenes, it became clear Katy Perry wasn't just facing a bad tour. She was staring down one of the biggest flops of her career. But Katy wasn't ready to give up just yet, because next came the boldest and riskiest move of all. Faced with a crumbling tour and an internet ready to roast her at every turn, Katy Perry tried to flip the narrative. On opening night in Mexico City, she hit the stage with a bold message. Decked out in glittering spacesuits and surrounded by dancers dressed like astronauts, Katy asked the crowd, "Has anyone ever called your dreams crazy?" It was a clear shot at her critics, a defiant moment meant to reclaim the narrative. The problem? Nobody was buying it. Instead of coming across as brave, the whole performance felt hollow. The space theme, once meant to symbolize female empowerment and adventure, now looked like an elaborate inside joke. And Katy was the punchline. Social media lit up instantly, mocking her dream speech as cringe, tone-deaf, and peak delusion. And the awkward moments didn't stop there. Multiple reviews described the show as chaotic and unfocused. Some fans called it like watching 2 different concerts at once. Part futuristic space opera, part desperate nostalgia trip. One brutal TikTok racked up millions of views by stitching clips of her performance with the caption, "When you spend $50 million to cosplay an astronaut and still can't fill the room."
Either or. It's a both and because you do something in space doesn't mean you're taking anything away from Earth. And what you're doing in space is trying to make things better here on Earth. What Blue Origin wants to do is take the waste here and figure out a way to put it in space to make our planet clean.
Even loyal fans, the ones who had defended her during previous controversies, started to fall silent. Some simply felt embarrassed. Others felt betrayed. Like Katy wasn't even trying to connect with them anymore, just selling a fantasy nobody asked for. The harder she pushed the space narrative, the more out of touch she seemed. The more she talked about crazy dreams, the more fans wondered if she even realized how far she had drifted from the artist they once loved. And as the dust settled from her disastrous attempt at damage control, one thing became brutally clear. Katy wasn't soaring above the hate. She was sinking deeper into it. Behind the glitter, lasers, and empty speeches, a brutal reality was taking shape. Katy Perry's Lifetime's tour was bleeding money, fast. Industry insiders estimated that between tour production costs, refunds, lost merchandise sales, and canceled shows, Katy was staring down a staggering $50 million loss. And that was a conservative number. Building a space-themed tour wasn't cheap. The costumes, stage setups, special effects, all meticulously crafted to sell the illusion of Katy the astronaut, had cost millions up front. And when the fans didn't show up, those costs didn't just disappear, they piled up, venue by venue, night after night.
Katy Perry, I just want to congratulate you on being the first astronaut to sing in space for real.
Thanks, Jeff. It was one small step for women, one giant leap for my Lifetime's tour. By the way, it's Captain Perry now.
Worse, merchandising, once a major cash cow for her brand, flopped miserably. Limited edition space jackets, cosmic-themed vinyls, zero-gravity perfumes all sat unsold at the back of deserted merch stands. Discounts were quietly slapped onto online store listings, but even at half price, buyers weren't biting. Meanwhile, sponsorship deals that were supposed to boost tour profits quietly started pulling back. Brands that had bet on Katy's historic Blue Origin ride now wanted distance from the controversy. Some shifted their marketing budgets to other artists. Others simply ghosted. The financial spiral wasn't just affecting Katy's pocket, it was shaking her entire team. Management insiders leaked reports of internal finger-pointing, with some blaming the Blue Origin stunt for tarnishing her relatability and alienating her fanbase at the worst possible time. And while Katy herself kept a brave face on stage, smiling under the flashing lights, behind the scenes the pressure was mounting. Every underwhelming show, every refund request, every empty row of seats was another reminder that the gamble hadn't just failed, it had detonated. The Lifetime's tour wasn't just underperforming, it was collapsing, financially, publicly, and emotionally. And Katy's next move would determine whether she could salvage anything or lose even more. For years, Katy Perry had been the queen of reinvention. From candy-coated pop princess to edgy anthem maker, she knew how to pivot, how to survive. But this time, the damage ran deeper. The Blue Origin stunt didn't just flop. It shifted how people felt about Katy.
I know you're just a simple businessman, but I went to space for real. That makes me Space Captain Perry.
And not in her favor. The internet, once a chaotic but loyal fan base, turned ice cold. Memes mocked her for being out of touch. Commentators called her the poster child for tone-deaf celebrity culture. Even casual listeners, people who once danced to Teenage Dream without thinking twice, started looking at her differently. The words kept popping up in threads, videos, TikToks, fake, disconnected, not relatable anymore. It wasn't just the concert disaster, or the ticket prices, or the Blue Origin selfies. It was something bigger, a growing realization that Katy wasn't the underdog anymore. She wasn't the scrappy, quirky rebel they had rooted for. She was part of the machine now, the gleaming, filtered world of billionaire vanity projects and staged empowerment. And that realization stung. Inside the industry, whispers grew louder. Some insiders suggested Katy might pivot to television, a polite way of saying music might no longer be her safe space. Others hinted that after the Lifetime's fallout, a long break might be inevitable, whether she wanted it or not. Because rebuilding trust after a moment like this, it's not impossible, but it's rare, very rare, especially when the fans don't just feel disappointed, they feel fooled. And as Katy faced down the wreckage of a tour that was supposed to catapult her into a new era, one brutal question lingered over everything.
Excuse me, Captain. Hello? We have a problem. You need to get down here right away. All right, we'll be right there. What's the problem?
Please, Jeff, you don't know as much about this stuff as I do. I sang in space for real, after all. So
Was the fall from the stars ever really worth it? Katy Perry set out to make history. Instead, she became a warning. What should have been a triumphant chapter, a pop star shooting for the stars, breaking barriers, inspiring millions, crumbled into one of the most brutal career stumbles in recent memory, not because she dared to dream big, but because somewhere along the way, the dream stopped feeling real. The Blue Origin flight was meant to crown her as a symbol of limitless ambition. Instead, it exposed a disconnect too big to ignore between celebrity fantasy and the real world fans live in, between polished Instagram moments and the messy, complicated reality of human connection. At its heart, Katy's fall wasn't about one rocket ride or one failed tour. It was about trust. And once that trust cracks, it's almost impossible to patch back together. Now, with tens of millions lost, fans disillusioned, and a once bulletproof brand looking fragile for the first time, Katy Perry stands at a crossroads. Some artists manage a comeback, finding humility, reconnecting with the rawness that first made them beloved. Others fade quietly, clinging to old glories while the world moves on without them. As of now, it's too soon to say which path Katy will choose. Maybe she'll rise again, stripped of the glossy distractions, ready to rebuild something real. Maybe not. But either way, one thing is certain. In chasing the stars, Katy Perry reminded everyone that even the brightest lights can burn out, and sometimes they do it in full view of the world.